I recently watched a group of protesters, most of them young, denouncing President Donald Trump's immigration policies.
As if that's a bad thing.
They were waving Mexican flags and shouting, "Sí se puede!" Yes, we can.
Just like Obama's rallying cry, "Yes, we can," when no, they couldn't.
This is now the rallying cry of the open borders left, but it wasn't always. In fact, I wondered if a single person at the protest knew where it came from.
It is weird considering that the slogan has always been about government restrictions and how, yes, we can make them work this time when they never have before.
The slogan first became famous 50 years ago thanks to César. He was the founder of the United Farm Workers Union. When Chavez said, "Sí se puede," he meant something very different. Yes, we can seal the borders.
This is a good point. The slogan is there to support government force being used as a solution for something.
César Chavez hated illegal immigration. He was Hispanic, obviously, and definitely on the left, but he fought to keep illegal Mexican immigrants out of this country.
Because they'd compete with his union workers. Unions do not like competition. Hey, wait, are you guys supporting unions now?
He understood that peasants from Latin America will always work for less than Americans will.
Always? There aren't any Latino millionaires? I think you might want to check your facts on that. But there are many who are willing to work for less for many reasons. Many of them want to do jobs that Americans don't want to do, such as a lot of unskilled labor. Many times, Americans can't do them because of things like minimum wage or union restrictions.
That's why employers prefer them.
Maybe employers prefer them because they show up on time. They do the work. They don't take long breaks. They don't leave early. And they don't stay home every time they get the sniffles. It's this thing called work ethic, which immigrants have in spades and which seems to be a dying characteristic among uppity privileged millennials whose boomer hippie yuppie parents never taught them the value of a good day's work.
Chavez knew that. As long as we have a poor country bordering California, he once explained, it's going to be very difficult to win strikes.
Aw, the poor little baby can't compete in a flea market. Wait, aren't you guys supposed to be for free markets? Or is that only when they're convenient for you?
Until recently, most Democrats agreed with Chavez. They opposed unchecked immigration because they knew it hurt American workers.
Except it doesn't. Immigrants create jobs for natives and increase the pay of natives, even unskilled ones. You can find the statistics proving all of this and many more in my video, How to Argue for Immigration Restrictions.
And they were right.
No, they weren't.
One study by a Harvard economist examined the effects of the mass migration of Cuban refugees to this country in 1980, the so-called Mariel boat lift. He found that American workers in Miami with a high school education saw their wages fall by more than 30% after the refugees arrived.
Couldn't have had anything to do with the double-digit inflation in 1980 that caused everybody's wages to fall, could it? Always gotta look at the timing of these things.
If you believe in supply and demand, this is not surprising.
Actually, anyone who understands supply and demand knows how wrong you are, especially if they also understand Cās's law.
After the fall of Saigon in 1975, Democratic Governor Jerry Brown opposed letting Vietnamese refugees into California on the grounds that the state already had enough poor people.
Yeah, because he's shown he knows so much about how to help poor people. I mean, funny how it's, the richest state in the country and everything.
As Bill Clinton put it in the 1995 State of the Union address, Americans are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country.
Yes, they've always been used as scapegoats by both sides. But it's funny how you're relying on the words of politicians, and Democratic politicians at that, to demonstrate the truth of the matter.
The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants.
Except again, Cās's law shows that's not how it works. First of all, they're taking jobs other people don't want or can't work due to regulations. Second, they're not just workers, but consumers in the economy, and in a free market that creates jobs. Again, each one of them creates 1.2 jobs for natives.
Immigration reduces the wages of domestic workers who compete with immigrants, explained economist Paul Krugman in the New York Times. will need to reduce the inflow of low-skilled immigrants.
Wow, you're resorting to Paul Krugman? Oh, jeez, Paul Krugman. Some days these videos just write themselves.
So what changed? Not the economics of it. The law of supply and demand remained in effect.
As did Cbağsဃ. Immigrants have continued to be a positive force in this country. They create jobs and use fewer government services for the taxes they pay. Again, all in my video.
What changed is that Democrats stopped caring about those workers.
No, what changed is more and more regulations making it difficult for businesses to hire people legally. Higher minimum wage, stricter healthcare requirements, on and on and on. Not to mention all the crap passed in the wake of the financial crisis, which made it hard for smaller businesses to get credit.
Studies show the overwhelming majority of first-time immigrant voters vote Democrat.
Citation needed. Actually, most of them don't vote at all. Most of them can't vote. According to the most recent polling data I could find, Latino turnout in the elections was just 27%, compared with 46% among whites and 41% among blacks. And the overwhelming majority do not vote Democrat. They do in some places, largely places where everyone else is voting Democrat. But in other places, their support wavers around 50-50. It just so happens that there's a greater concentration in the Democratic districts, which skews the statistics. In many districts, the percentage of Latino voters supporting the Republican candidate far outstrips the lead. It just isn't as cut and dried as you're making it.
The biggest landslide in American presidential history was only 17 million votes.
Yeah, when Warren Harding beat James Cox, back when the entire population of the U.S. was less than a third of what it is now. You didn't mention that part, did you? Presidents are elected by the Electoral College, not by vote totals. The Electoral College is chosen by the states. Over 90% of Latinos who are eligible to vote live in just 10 states, most of which are Democrat safe to begin with. 56% of them live in just 3 states. They might be able to tip a close election, but they cannot turn a close election into a landslide.
The payoff for Democrats? Permanent electoral majority for the foreseeable future. In a word, power.
Yeah, and wanting the government to be able to use force to stop people from crossing an imaginary line put in place as a result of a war has nothing to do with power. Right. Hey, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe and be sure to check out How to Argue for Immigration Restrictions as well as this other video selected especially for you. And please donate using the links below to keep more quality videos coming.